A lot of people have heard of the 4-hour work week, the book, the 4-hour work week. Premise of it is to work 4 hours a week and have your life make it so that you can work 4 hours a week. Well, I think working 4 hours a week is for suckers. I don't want to work 4 hours a week. I don't want to work 4 hours a month. I maybe work 30 minutes a month on all my properties, and I'm going to walk you through how I did it.
Awesome, Justin. Welcome to our weekly mastermind call, man. I'm super excited about it. I started out buying rental properties. I didn't do any wholesale, no fix and flip. My first few properties were all rental. So I'm very excited to hear I own about 50 properties, but I'm just going to grow my portfolio. So I'm excited to kind of hear what you have to share. So if you want to give a quick intro about yourself, and then we can jump right into it.
Yeah, totally. So I'm a real estate investor. I've been investing since 2006. And eventually, after figuring out first how to do it wrong, those gurus tell you how to do it one way, which usually it's not the right way. And then I figured out, because I'm a business owner, I've had many businesses in my life, I realized the wrong way was what they told me to do was basically that my property is my business, which in fact it's not your business. Your property is a part of your business. It's inventory for your business. We create a business, and then we then put that inventory, buy a piece of inventory, put it in a business. But I figured that out, started investing back in 2006. Eventually I had 30 plus properties, and blessed to be able to quit my job when I was 37 years old in 2016. Was able to quit my job because I had enough properties. And then from there, just really started helping people, because I had so many friends and family members asking me how it was that I was investing and not working a job. So I started teaching friends and family members one-on-one, and realized I enjoyed it. So then fast forward, wrote a couple books, started a podcast, the Master Passive Income podcast, YouTube channels and coaching and courses and stuff. And since then, really just kept exploding or expanding my businesses, my real estate investing business, and now just try to help as many people as I can and show them how to scale their business, because it's easy to buy one property. I mean, anybody could do that. When you live in a house that you live in, you're going to buy one property. But what you want to do is then be able to scale, especially if you buy an investment property. We want to scale the business. So that's what I love talking about. As I love helping people to do.
Awesome, man. Yeah, thank you so much. Cool. Yeah, Dustin, so do you have like a presentation you want to do? You want to open it up for Q&A, go over a case study? Kind of how do you want to do that you think will add the most value?
I totally have a presentation that I take my students through to help them walk through the process of doing it right instead of doing it wrong. And then we can definitely do questions afterwards. So the presentation, 20 minutes, 25 minutes or so, but literally walk you through the entire process. And if you have any questions, it'd be great if you just put them in the chat. So, because I'm going to be going throughout this entire presentation so that you guys can, as you're coming up with questions, like I said, put them in the chat so we can answer them later. But there's a good amount of stuff that I want to go through to share with you how we do it in a right way. Well, great. So I'm just going to leave it like this, make it a lot easier. You guys can see the slides that are coming, but I really appreciate, Shrad, you having me on, and really love that, everything you're doing. Like I told you before, I love your business and love everything that you're doing to help investors. So, yeah, this is going to be how I built a 6-figure automatic business in my spare time with a full-time job, and how you can too. So not just a full-time job. I literally had 4 kids, as well as I had other businesses, and I still created my real estate investing business. Now, the great thing about this was my real estate investing business was the least amount of money or time out of my life, and I made the most money, and I made it as automatic as possible, which I literally work maybe, well, a lot of people have heard of the 4-hour work week, the book, the 4-hour work week. Premise of it is to work 4 hours a week and have your life make it so that you can work 4 hours a week. Well, I think working 4 hours a week is for suckers. I don't want to work 4 hours a week. I don't want to work 4 hours a month. I maybe work 30 minutes a month on all my properties, and I'm going to walk you through how I did it. Yeah, so my name's Dustin Heiner, founded Master Passive Income, and I realized when I bought one property, the first property I bought in 2006, I made money in passive income. I remember that check is plain as day. It was $317 that I got from my property manager. And I thought, my goodness, I didn't do any work. And then it kept coming in, more checks kept coming in. And then I realized, man, I've mastered passive income. And then, because my property works for me. Fast forward created the podcast because I'm here to help people to also master passive income. So I have my podcast, the Master Passive Income Podcast. Usually, I rarely do interviews. It's literally just me teaching how to do all this stuff because my fun is now helping people. I make my money in real estate. I just want to help as many people out. Okay, most of you are real estate investors, but I'm going to go through this because not everybody understands exactly the 6 ways that you make money when you invest in real estate, and then that translates into you having a business, and then that business now scaling the business. Now we're going to go through this. So there's 6 ways rental properties make you money. First one is cash flow, the passive income that you make every single month that puts money into your pocket. Now, when I first started investing, I wanted to become successfully unemployed. Like my brand, I love the term successfully unemployed because I found a way to make money to provide for myself and my family without working that dead end job or that just overbooked job. So the cash flow, passive income, you calculate all your expenses, and then you make sure that you could rent it for $250. My suggestion, a minimum of $250 or more in passive income from every property. And that's passive income. That's cash flow. Second way is equity capture. You make money when you buy the property. You realize it when you sell it, but I'm not going to sell these properties. I'm literally going to give these properties to my kids. But when we buy the property, we're going to make sure that we capture equity. We're investors. We want to pay at most 80% to the market value. So if it's worth $100,000, we're going to buy it for $80,000 or do our best to buy it. So we're capturing equity 20% right when we buy it. And this will be used in the future, which in what we're going to be talking about, how to actually refinance and scale your business. Now, forced depreciation. When you fix up the property, you put money into the property. Let's say you put $5,000 into it to make it better, make it a nicer property, then hopefully it'll appreciate and the appraisal value will go up $10,000 or $15,000. So $5,000 to fix it up. Let's say it's appraised for $15,000 more, then you captured $10,000 in forced appreciation. Next one would be market appreciation. We know over time values go up. In fact, if you would have bought when I did in 2006, 7, 8, when the crash happened, when the crash happened, the values of my homes cut in half. But I was investing for passive income. So I didn't care because I make money if the market goes up, down, or sideways because I make sure that I'm making money in passive income. Now, the market appreciation, now I'm so glad that I kept those houses instead of foreclosing on them or something because now they're double or triple how much I bought them for back then. So market appreciation over time goes up. Mortgage buy down. I love this one. Your tenants pay down your mortgage for you. If you buy a house for $200,000, you put a down payment. Well, the balance of that, let's say you owe $180,000 in principal and all the interest, your tenants are paying for all that. And you guys all understand this since you're all investors. So I don't pay my mortgage on any of my properties. I don't pay my taxes. I don't pay my insurance. I don't pay for repairs. I don't pay for capital expenses. I don't pay for any of that stuff, especially even a property manager. Like I don't have to get a job to pay for those things. I make sure those are accounted for before I buy the property. My tenants pay for all those things. Now, so happens the money goes into me and then I pay all the bills, but I don't have to get a job for that. Last one of my favorites is tax advantages. One small one is you could defer your tax advantage with a 1031 exchange, selling the property, getting a better property that makes more money for you. But on top of that, depreciation is absolutely amazing. And if you can get to the point where you have that you tell the IRS because you are a professional real estate investor, your professional status as a real estate investor, you can deduct all your depreciation on your other income that you make in other areas outside of real estate. The tax advantages are absolutely amazing. So if you've never got depreciation on your taxes, get ready. Like when you scale that business, you have lots of depreciation. My goodness, it's like the government's like, here, please don't give us any money. It's terrific. Okay. Now I'm not an accountant, so definitely talk to your accountant, but I'm just giving you what other people have told me. Okay. So really quickly, cash flow, equity capture, forced appreciation, market appreciation, mortgage buy down, and tax advantages. Now in all of this, because we create a business, we make sure that this business is going to be making us money. And I got more to share on all this sort of stuff. Let's jump into this, the path to a 6-figure real estate investing business. Now, I like to also call it an automatic real estate investing business because I literally don't do any work. In fact, finding properties, I don't do work. Managing properties, I don't do work. Fixing other properties, I don't do any work. I have other people do that for me. Okay. Let me give you an example. And this is what I first started doing. And then I realized, man, this has really helped me to make passive income, to not have to work a job. And then in coaching all my students, this has been such a fantastic barrier or a minimum that we have to. So first property, we buy the property, we make sure we make $250 or more minimum in monthly passive income. That is $3,000 a year, 250 times 12, $3,000 a year in passive income. Now, when I first started investing back in 2006, all the gurus, the quote unquote gurus, are telling me, you just want to make sure you're breaking even. You make maybe $25 or $50 a month in passive income, but you're going to get appreciation, and that's what you're investing for. Well, I realized that all those people who did that, they went bankrupt back in 2008, 9, and 10 when the crash happened. So many quote unquote investors got bankrupt. They got stuck because they were over leveraged. They weren't making passive income. I personally make sure I make money because this is how I feed my family. This is how I became successful and employed, because I have money coming in. Now, one property, $250 a month, is $3,000 a year in passive income. That's great, right? On top of that, it's just scaling that business from there. 10 properties at $250 a month. That is $2,500 a month in passive income, $30,000 a year in passive income without even working, and continue to scale. 20 properties is $5,000 a month, $60,000 a year in passive income. 20 or 40 properties is $120,000 a year without working. And remember, I'm going to show you how to make this an automatic business. But when you think about it, it's literally just scaling the business. If you can scale something that it doesn't take any of your own effort, why not do it? It's so much better when you have so many more properties. And like I said, I will literally give these properties to my kids. If you could look in the background, let's see over there, if you look at the background of my screen, I have 4 kids, and I'm very blessed. My oldest is 15, youngest is 10, but my wife's pregnant again. So we're going to have another baby. So 10-year, 11-year gap between them, but 4 and another one coming. But I'm literally going to give these properties to my kids, and I'm literally teaching them how to invest as well to scale their business like I do with all my students. Okay, next one. Let me give you the wrong way in how I followed the quote unquote gurus. This is the wrong way. Then I'll quickly tell you the right way. The wrong way, what the gurus tell us, is you find a property anywhere in the country, and then you run the numbers, run the numbers, find your expenses, make sure you know your income from your rents. And then they say, make sure you're making $50 a month of passive income, but you'll get appreciation, which I already said, I don't invest for appreciation. I invest for cash flow. Appreciation is great. I use that for refinance, pull cash back out, which we could talk about later. But what I do is I invest for passive income. So getting back to the wrong way, and I'll quickly tell you the right way. The wrong way, they say, what you do is you find a property, run the numbers, make sure you make a little money in passive income, get appreciation. Then you spend thousands of dollars to buy the property, then spend thousands of dollars to fix up the property, then find a tenant in there, and then find a property manager to manage the property. Well, in my opinion, that's just about backwards. In my opinion, we need to start it and build the business the right way. So we need to build the business the right way. And in order to do that, we need to actually follow a couple key steps. Now, I'm going to give you an analogy of what the right way looks like. If you're going to start a convenience store, a convenience store, candy bar, soda machines, and all that good stuff, well, you're not going to sign a lease on a location, open the doors, and set a box of candy bars in there on the ground. No, you wouldn't do that. You go out of business in 2 seconds. What you would do instead is you would build the business first. You get the gondolas, those are shelving units that all the candy bars go on, the cash registers, the bank accounts, the countertops, the cold storage, the employees, insurance, everything in the business before you buy any inventory. And like I said at the beginning of this workshop, inventory is our properties. We buy a property and we buy that as inventory. Like, I'm not going to live in these properties. Out of the 30 plus properties I own and hotels that I now own, I've literally only seen one property before I bought it, and literally don't look at it now, because I built a business. I've hired experts to do everything for me, and now it runs itself. Now, I'm going to walk through the real estate investor success roadmap, and just kind of jokingly made up an acronym, but for real estate is, first one, we recognize the target rental market. Recognize the target rental market is anywhere in the country. As long as we can buy the property, make passive income on it, and have people run the business for us, that's going to be a good market, which I'll walk you through all this. Establish an automatic business. When we find the market first, then we build the business. A lot of my students, they say, hey, Dustin, I found a new area. I found the target rental market. I already have 5 realtors sending me leads or sending me deals. I say, whoa, stop. You're putting cart way before the horse. In fact, realtors are literally the last step. Wholesalers are the last step. Ways you find properties, those are so easy. Those are the last steps. And I ask the question, who would manage the property if you bought a property? Do you know who would manage it? And they say, well, no. I said, well, we got to start there first. And I also asked the question, do you know if you're going to be buying the right property, if it's going to be a good property, and if your property manager would actually manage it? Just like if you were to call up a property manager, this happens all the time. Literally, I talk to a lot of people all the time to say, well, I bought a property, followed the gurus, and I called the property manager. I said, hey, property manager, I have a property. I would like for you to manage it. And they'll say, no, I will not manage that property because I'll get shot there. And they hang up on them, jokingly hang up. But like they'll say, no, I won't manage that property. How much better if you hire experts, you build the business and you say, property manager, I'm looking to buy, instead of, don't want to say, I bought this, spent thousands of dollars to do all this. Instead, you say, I'm looking to buy this property. Tell me how much it rents for. Tell me, will you manage it? What's the clientele like? What's the vacancy factor? Tell me all about this property in this area. If the property manager says, no, I will not manage it, then you don't waste your time and money buying that property. What you do is if they come back and say, well, you could rent it for this much. Yes, I will manage it. This is a vacancy factor. They're the experts living there on the ground. In fact, all the places I invest in 5 different cities in many different states, and I don't want to be the expert. My students say, hey, Dustin, you invest in the city. You're the expert. Tell me, like, what's the area that I should buy? And I said, no, I'm not the expert. I hire experts, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Okay, establish an automatic business, build the business up. Next one is approve others to help you succeed. Now, if you started that convenience store, think about that convenience store analogy. If you're going to have your money and your livelihood in this business, would you just find somebody across the street and say, hey, you got a pulse, come in and manage my business, manage my money, manage my inventory, manage my customers, manage my employees? No, you wouldn't do that. You would interview many, many people before you actually got them to actually manage the property or your company. Same thing with real estate investing. We hire people and we make sure that they are going to be great for our business. Last one is we lease the property for $250 a month in passive income. That's the minimum. I now have properties that rent for $500, $600, $700 more than the expenses. And over time, eventually the mortgage will be gone. That'll be much more money that's in my pocket, and I'll give these properties to my kids. Okay. Now, like I said, the easiest part is buying the property. That's literally the last step. Finding properties is literally the last step. The hardest part is building the business first. And we're going to go through all of this, how to build the business first. Now, I personally did it the wrong way. And then my property manager started stealing from me within 6 months. It was absolutely horrible, but I'm here to help you hopefully not have that problem and then be able to scale the business. I'll be completely honest and say, I've coached, I don't know, hundreds, if not thousands of students now. The hardest part is building the business. If it was easy, everybody would do it, but it's easy just to find a property and then, buy the property. But it's so much harder to build the business first. Now, for my students, it usually takes about 3 to 4 weeks to actually build a business, find the area, build the business, and get everybody working in the business, then buy the property. But I'm going to walk you through all the steps. So I'm going to give you 6 secrets to real estate investing. Wow, when you hear these, you're like, man, these are not that, you could figure it out. It's common sense. But until you actually realize that these other ways don't work, you're going to realize that this way absolutely works. Okay, first secret is we build the business first. We want to make sure that we are building the business first in the right area. We have the right people. We make sure that they're doing the right things, and we're buying the right inventory for our properties. Just like having your property manager make sure that you're buying the right property, that they would manage it. They're going to be managing it day to day for years. Hopefully, they're going to want to make sure you're buying a good property and not in a bad area, not where they're going to get shot. Okay, so let's talk about finding a good city that has good inventory. Remember, we talked about finding a target rental market. So a good city that has good inventory. Let's jump right into, I use Zillow. Actually, I've been using it for a very long time, like 2007, 8, or whenever they first started coming out. So let's look at this. These little red dots are basically homes that are for sale. And if you're going to be building a business, you're looking at it. This one picture was Brownsville. You look at, there's probably 5, 6 in Brownsville, 6 red dots. It's like, there's not a lot of inventory. Now, if it takes a long time to build the business and you can only buy 2 or 3 properties at most in that area, then it might be a lot of time taken up you should be able to actually be in another area, another city that has a lot more inventory. Now, on top of that, when there's fewer properties to buy, to rent, there's fewer property managers. You're going to have a lot harder time to find a good property manager. Now, how about this one? This city was Memphis, Tennessee, which actually has been doing really, really well for my students for the last, I don't know, 5 years. I have students that literally started in Memphis, and in 3 years, one student in particular got 20 properties in 3 years, scaling the business like how I told you how we're doing it. Now, Memphis, you see lots of red dots. There's even more if you zoom in, but these red dots represent inventory. If we build a business in here, then we're going to have lots of opportunities to buy properties and lots of property managers. Now, you might be thinking, well, which area is the good? Is it north, south, east, west? Where's the good area? The biggest thing is, as soon as I find a good area to invest in, has a lot of good inventory, the right types of homes that I want to buy and make passive income on, then I stop everything else and then I find and build the business. Find the right property managers, contractors, inspectors, plumbers, roofers. I do all that so that they make sure I don't screw up. I don't live there. I don't even want to visit Memphis. It's not a plan of mine, but we invest there. Now, when you're building a business, you're looking at this area. If you ask me, well, Dustin, is the South, like getting closer to Mississippi, where the Tennessee-Mississippi line, is that a good area? Like, I really don't know. But we can find people who can. We can talk to, now, a lot of people might be thinking, well, why can't we just talk to realtors? Aren't they experts? Wouldn't they just tell us the right thing? No, they're the types of people that they work with you for, let's say, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe a couple months, but then they're done with you as soon as they sell you the house. The ones that will tell you the honest truth are the ones that are going to be working with you for months and months and months. So we like building building our business in an area that has great inventory. Let me give you the cookie cutter home that we buy. Now, this is the type of home that everybody either wants to rent or they want to buy. 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage, 1,200 to 1,400 square foot. Now, the reason why we keep it a smaller house instead of like 2,000 square feet or 2,500 square feet. When I first started investing, I thought, man, I could buy this 2,500 square foot house. It's going to be worth a lot more. But then I realized after I had to paint all the walls, I had to change out all the fixtures, I had to carpet everything. If you have a large house, then that is extra walls to paint, extra toilets to change and fix, extra light sockets, extra flooring. So we want the cookie cutter type home. Now, you can deviate from this. Like, we can go as high as like 1,700. Once you get higher than that, it's just not necessary for you. But below that, we do not want to have less than a 1,200 square foot, because we love, and we actually, our tenants, the best ones are families. Their parents work in the area, so it's not easy for them to move. Their kids go to school in that area, so they're like literally ingrained in that community, and we have them as a great property for them. But then if you ever wanted to sell them, then this is the type of home that everybody wants to buy. So this is a cookie cutter type home that we also buy. One other quick thing, we make sure we buy it so we make $250 a month in passive income. Okay, secret number 2, hire the experts in your city. Now, when I talk about hiring experts, you don't just call up your first property manager or a first inspector or a first contractor and say, okay, hey, you got a pulse, come and take care of my properties, or come and do this. No, if I've done that and my property manager started stealing from me with 6 months, now I figured out actually how to ask the right questions, how to make sure that I am actually interviewing them so that I'm picking the right person. And I apologize for everybody if I talk fast. I did this call recently where somebody said I talk fast. Well, hopefully it comes across like I'm very passionate. I love teaching this stuff. But number 2, I think, Sherrod, you're probably going to have a replay of this that everybody's going to have. I hope you're recording it right now, right, Sherrod?
I feel like listening to you in 2x speed, but which is good. I like consuming content at that speed. That's perfect for me.
I do too. I listen to it at 2x speed too. Okay, so next one is hire slow and fire fast. I learned this from running many, many businesses, sold businesses. When you hire fast, find the wrong person, potentially it's much greater probability that you're going to hire the wrong person if you hire fast. We want to hire slow, which means, like our property manager, interview many property managers, interview them multiple times so that we absolutely find the right person that fits in our business. But then if somebody in the business, let's say a contractor or a property manager or a realtor, if they are not working out for you and they don't seem like they're doing a good job for you, fire them fast, get them out right away, then get somebody else in. There's a lot more to talk about, but I want to give you that quick tip as a business owner so you can help and go with the direction of hiring the right people. So when you hire the right people, property managers, let's just go through a list of them. There's so many more. Mortgage brokers, insurance agents, property inspectors, contractors, handyman, electricians, plumbers, roofers, wholesalers, realtors, title companies. Like, all these people, companies in our business, we need to make sure we know them and we are good to work with them before we buy any properties. This is what it's like when we build the business. I had one contractor who was telling me one thing, saying, oh, the property's fantastic. Then I had a property manager telling me the complete opposite. No, it's not. And he would send me good pictures, the best ones that he had. She would send me bad pictures. In the end, it turned out the handyman or the contractor was not doing a good job. So we have to hire the right people, then fire them very, very quickly. All right, secret number 3, utilize the experts to make sure you are doing everything right. We want to utilize them, that they're doing everything right. Let me give you a quick tip, and this is not in the slides. This is something that came to mind. When I am repairing something or I'm having a property rehabbed, I utilize many, many people to make sure the job's getting done with the insights that they give me. Not that a lot of people doing the work, but making sure that people are checking on the work. Let's say somebody is, actually, I'll give you a particular one. I had a company come and replace a sliding glass door in one of my properties in Texas when I was having to fix it. Well, there was no tenant in there. And so they'd send me a picture. I want to make sure it was actually good. So I called up my electrician who was literally going in there fixing stuff up. I said, could you try the glass door? Just look at it, make sure it looks good, make sure everything functions properly. And he did that. It literally took him like 5 seconds to do everything. It looked good. Send me a couple pictures. Done. I was utilizing them to check. So I utilize experts to make sure everything is done right. Now, your property manager is the quarterback of your team. You think of football, your quarterback helps you make money, save money. They're going to make sure that you're winning. Your property manager is literally your quarterback of your team. And you want to make sure, just like I said in the beginning, you don't want to say, property manager, I just bought this property on number 1 Happy Street. Will you manage it? And they say, no, I'm going to get shot there. I'm not going to manage it. You do not want that. You want to instead say, I'm looking to buy this property on number 1 Happy Street. Will you manage the property? They say yes, and great. You can move on with all your due diligence to make sure it's the right property. Okay, secret number 4. Businesses, they're in business to make money every single month. So your business should be making money every single month in passive income. Let me give you an analogy of what this looks like. If you're going to have a business that you know without a shadow of a doubt, you can sell a candy bar for $2. Well, if you could sell a candy bar for $2 and you can buy it for $1, well, you'll make $1 every single time you sell it. And you knew you could do it all day, every day. Well, you would buy as many candy bars as you could. Now, let's flip it. Let's say you could buy a candy bar for $1, but you could only sell it for 50 cents. You would lose 50 cents every single month or every single time you sold a candy bar. Why would you do that business? You wouldn't. You go out of business because you're losing money. Same thing with real estate investing. Just like if you could buy a candy bar for 50 cents and then you knew you could sell it for $1, well, you'd buy as many as you could. But let's say, and this is a beautiful thing about real estate investing, you guys, since you're investors, you understand this. Even if you don't have the 50 cents to buy that candy bar, let's say it took 25 cents to buy that candy bar. Now you're out of pocket 75 cents, 50 plus 25 cents, you're out of pocket 75 cents. You still sell it for $1. You're going to say, how can I borrow even more money to buy a candy bar for 75 cents total and sell it for $1? You're making 25 cents every single time. Very, very simple. I'm not that good at math. In fact, I'm horrible at math. Numbers in math go into my brain and they kind of flutter away. They just disappear. This is this is why I like real estate. It's so simple. Income minus your expenses is your profit. You have a property manager, the expert on the ground. Don't ask your realtor. Your realtor, in fact, countless times, realtors have told me and my students that the rents are going to be at least 20% more than they actually were because they want them, because they know we're investors. They want us to buy the property. Then when we ask the property manager, how much can we rent this for? They give us the actual. In fact, when you have an expert, this property manager would be an expert, would say, hey, property manager, I'm looking to buy this property. How much can I rent it for? If they're really good, they're going to probably have properties in the area. Say, you know what? I know that area. In fact, we had a property right around the corner there. We were trying to get $1,600 for it a month. Zillow said $1,600. Realtor said $1,600. We couldn't. So we had to lower the price to $1,500 or $1,400. That is expert information that you must have in your business. Okay. Next secret is creative financing or utilizing other people's money. When you have a business, you have business financing that you can use on top of your own financing that you can have, as well as many, many other ways to get financing. But this is how we scale our business. A lot of people think, oh my goodness, we only have 4 loans that we can get on our person. You know, the banks say you can only have 4 loans when you buy houses. Well, that's not true. That's just their criteria. You can actually, banks can actually go up to 10, and some banks can even do other great ways. And we utilize all these. Let me quickly go through a list of ones that I have done. Now, I literally have done, I think, 15 different ways to get financing for all of my properties. And I coach this to all my students, but I even have a YouTube video where I literally go through all the 15 ways and how I actually did it. Now, very simply, all cash, you can easily do that. Now, I love delayed financing. This is a strategy. Let's say you had a home equity line of credit, which is the second one. Well, actually, I could give you a real world example. There was a pastor up in Sacramento. I started coaching him, and he didn't have any money. Pastors don't make much money, but he did have a property. With that property, he had equity in the property. So what we did was, because he wanted to invest in real estate, we got a home equity line of credit. Then he took that home equity line of credit, cashed out to buy a property in, I think it was Atlanta, Georgia. Bought this property. Is originally 170. We got him down to 110. Remember, we're investors, so we buy it for lower than it's worth. And then he bought it, fixed it up, made it worth more. And then now he has it rented. Now remember, he still has his home equity line of credit he has to pay off. Well, we then refinanced it with delayed financing, which means, let's say, as soon as the property's rehabbed, they would refinance it then. You don't have to wait 6 months, which is another strategy. Refinanced it, pulled all that cash back out. Now this property, which was free and clear, now has a 30-year fixed loan on it. We took that money, paid off his home equity line of credit, and he literally has no money in this deal of his own pocket. It was just out of his equity. Now he has that equity to do it all over again. Okay, other ones, seller financing, hard money subject to, like the existing mortgage. You know, you buy it subject to the existing mortgage, which we can go into later. Private money, commercial loans. I've literally bundled properties together in portfolio loan. As soon as you create a business, you get an EIN number from the IRS, and then you start building business credit, which then you buy properties with your business. Blanket loans, signature loans. You go to a bank, say, bank, I want to get an unsecured line of credit. Okay, great. Sign your name here, just like a credit card, but you could spend that money however you want. Higher fees, but if you're doing this business right, you're making 25 cents every single time you borrow that money, you're going to do all day. I even, as a bad strategy, I used a credit card to cash out, not refinance, but to do the cash out, whatever they call it, where I took the money out and then I bought properties with that because of such a low interest rate. And I knew I accounted for my expenses before I buy the property. There's so many more. I'm just scratching the surface, but at the same time, all of these can be combined. We get creative. We multiply 3 or 4 together or add them all together. So let's say we didn't have the money for down payment. Well, we find hard money. Well, from there, maybe we get some commercial loans with it. And we also use a signature loan. There's so many ways to do this, but as long as you're doing it right, where you're making money, because it's a business, as long as you're doing it right, you're going to be able to make money. Secret number 6, automate your business with systems, procedures, and processes. This is something I absolutely love in my businesses, because with these, I make sure that my property managers, my contractors, and everybody else does everything the right way that I want them to do. What I also do is I tell my property managers, hey, property manager, I know you have lots of other landlords with you that are working with you. However you work with them and run their business, that's totally fine. But how you run my business, this is how I want you to run my business with these systems, procedures, and processes. Let me give you a quick way to understand a quick systems, procedure, and process. Rent is due on the 1st, late after the 3rd. On the 4th, you give a 3-day notice, and every state has different laws, so just gotta make sure you're following those laws. Then you give a late fee. You give that late fee and then start the eviction right after the 3-day notice is completed, because you're now running it like a business. And this is the most non-discriminatory practice ever. If you're thinking, well, I don't want to discriminate on people, you're treating every single person the exact same. It doesn't matter, because it's a business. I learned this the hard way. In fact, my first few properties, I was such a pushover landlord. I would hear sob stories. Like one lady literally said, well, my son went to jail a second time this month. I had to bail him out. We don't have enough money. I'm like, well, okay, I guess I'll go ahead and let you slide. The sad thing was, it was like the 4th time he got arrested. It's like, well, I have to feed my family. I have a mortgage to pay. If I call up my bank and say, hey, bank, my son got arrested, can I not pay the mortgage? They'll say, no, you have to pay the mortgage. Same thing. We are running a business. This is how I feed my family. This is how I make sure that I have money every single month to put a roof over head and feed my family. So there's so much to go over. And I know you guys have questions, but I quickly want to give you, because there's so much more and I want to value you guys' time. I have a free course. Absolutely. We'll give it away for free. In fact, I have students literally listening to my podcast and investing and not even, going to me for coaching. They've even taken this free course. And in that, they've even become real estate investors from this free course. So masterpassiveincome.com/free course. And I don't
Hey,
know,
Dustin,
Sharad, if
can you put the link in the chat?
sure
You can
can.
just copy and put it in the chat just so that, people have the,
Oh, here we go.
you can just
I can
link
do that.
it. Yeah.
So I want to give this to you guys so that you have this, and it literally show you so much more on how to do all of these steps to make sure you're doing it right. Now, I know there's so much more and there's lots of questions. So, well, I'll leave this up, but I want to know, what questions do you guys have right now of things we went over, and even other things? Like I've even had people ask about, should we do a cost benefit analysis for advanced or accelerated depreciation, things like that. So what questions do you guys have?
If you go back to, like, I think it was secret number 2.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, this, I would say what I did was, like, kind of related to looking for a target market and hiring expert. Like, this is what I did when I started investing in 2010. I wasn't sure about the market. I used to live in Chicago, and I literally drew a map of, I just drew a radius of, okay, all the areas that are within my driving distance within 45 minutes to an hour, and Indiana popped up. And I'm like, oh, I didn't even know Indiana was like that close. And I had no idea about the neighborhood. I would literally call the local police department, speak with someone. I forgot, like, I would ask for someone, and I would get someone on the phone. I'm like, hey, I'm looking to buy this property. What do you think in terms of, like, crime, safety, and on? And if I wasn't getting a straight answer, I would say, would you let your son or your daughter buy this property? Then they would be, straight up, yes, no. And then one other thing I did with my property managers is I work with a property, not property manager, sorry, insurance company. I work with my insurance company, and she also owns rental properties. So that was another good tip on, she was able to guide me on what are the best practices to make sure you have the right coverage on your property, what areas to buy in, what areas not to buy in. But the biggest mistake I made, hands down, was hiring the wrong property manager. And I was hired too fast, and I did not fire them fast enough. So I did exactly opposite of what you mentioned, and it cost me a lot of pain and headache. And then we decided, in the long term, made the right decision to bring in property management in-house. So between my properties and other investors, we manage about roughly 200 units. That was the best decision we made. It's like working with the right property manager. So absolutely right on that. Like, hire slow, fire fast. Make sure you're working with the right people.
Totally. So I see there's one question
Yeah.
about the top 5 landlord friendly favorable markets. Memphis is one. Indianapolis is another one. Let's see. Dayton and Akron, Ohio are pretty good. Let's see what other ones off the top of my brain. Birmingham, Alabama is also pretty good.
Markets in Florida, I've heard some investors do pretty well. I don't know what's your experience been in there.
There have been, like Jacksonville it's gone up since when we first started investing there. But there are lots of, like, getting further away from the coast. You're going to get a lot of good areas that, people want to live in. In fact, a lot of people have been migrating to Florida from really, taxed heavy states like New York and everything like that. But yes, Florida is good. Actually, Midwest is really, really good. If you just look all through the Midwest, you're going to find good cities. But then in the Carolinas and Florida, really good.
And David has a question. What determines, he has 3 questions, so let's just go one at a time. What determines a good market?
For me, a good market are multiple properties, like lots of properties in inventory, like I talk about on the PowerPoint. So finding lots of properties that are available, and lots of potential properties that are available that fit my criteria. Remember the cookie cutter home, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,200 to 1,400 square feet. Maybe you can get up to 1,700. 2-car garage. I try to make sure that we fit in those. The biggest thing, if you deviate from any of these, I would say it's okay. But for me, I found the one that you do not want to deviate from is the 2-bedroom. If you go to below a 3-bedroom, you're going to have a hard time finding families to live in there. And it's a hard one to sell. I just don't like 2 bedrooms at all. I personally also don't like condos because you have homeowner associations, you have other things that are outside of your control. But when I look at what determines a good market, lower price point, higher rents where I can make money in passive income, $250 a month, and the right type and lots of properties that I can buy. And then the target market, make sure that I find a property manager. In fact, I've studied an entire area and realized after interviewing dozens of property managers, I couldn't find anybody that I felt comfortable with working with. I had to move on from that area. It happens. Maybe you might find a good one. Maybe I didn't. But that's what, for me, determines a good market.
Would you buy it in a tenant-friendly state like or area like Chicago?
No, definitely not. Illinois,
Yeah,
definitely stay away
right.
from person. I
Yeah,
wouldn't.
100%. Yeah, I wouldn't either. It's it can take you. I mean, we had one investor that we were working with. He bought a property. We were helping him flip the property. Took us 1 year to get the tenant out. 1 year, and even after that, we couldn't evict. We had to settle for like 5,000 out of court.
Oh my goodness. Wait.
Yeah.
Did you have to pay him?
Yes, we had
You
to.
had to pay him
Yeah,
to leave.
cash for keys. Yes, after 1 year. And the funny thing is,
Ridiculous.
I mean, not so funny, I guess. There was no utilities in that house, but he made up a fake lease, and just I mean, it was I didn't buy the property.
Ugh.
Some investor from New York bought the property, from a guru, and it was horrible for him. Yeah,
Totally.
California is like
Oregon's
that,
also a really
definitely.
bad one. Yeah, West Coast is not good. Oregon, you have to actually pay to help them to move. It's
Yeah.
yeah. So no, I don't like going into
Generally
tenant
speaking,
friendly
not to
states.
get political, but generally speaking, red states tend to be more landlord friendly than blue states. Generally, not to get political here, but just what I've noticed
Yeah, and
in
for
my
me, it's
experience.
like, hey, you take care of your responsibility. I'll take care of my responsibility. I'll make sure that you have a
Yep.
good property, everything's taken care of. You make sure you pay the rent. Like we just have an agreement.
Yep.
And some states they don't like they make sure that the tenants are taken care of as opposed to the landlord. So as an
Yep.
investor, I make sure my properties are taken care of. I make sure my tenants have a great property to live in, great, relatively, but like good, as well as keep the rents low. I want to make sure my tenants are happy to stay there. I love the free market. I want the free market to where I am investing. I make sure that my passive income is accounted for. So I make sure that I can make money every single month because I've accounted for what's going to happen in the property and with all the expenses. But yeah, so there was a couple other
And
questions that he had.
yeah, when you build your business, what do you sit down with an accountant and lawyer familiar to? When do you sit down with an accountant and lawyer familiar with real estate?
Yeah. So I would say at least start talking to an accountant first. Lawyer, not necessarily. It's not that big of a deal to have a lawyer, in my opinion, because I don't like managing my properties. I hire property managers. They need to be, I believe, licensed in most states, but some don't. Actually, not a lot of states. Like in Ohio, where I have some properties, they have to be a realtor, so they have to, be licensed and stuff like that. Not all the states are like that, but the property manager, they're the ones that are on the hook. Like they could be sued, so they need to make sure that they are doing everything properly. So as far as a lawyer, every state's different. You need to make sure you hire a lawyer in that state. But accountants can be literally anywhere. In fact, my accountant, I've had him for 20 plus years. He lives in California. I live in Arizona. My properties are all over the country. So accountant first. And I would talk to them sooner rather than later. And they're well worth their money. In fact, I love paying my accountant where it'll take me 3 years to do what takes him 5 minutes. So accountants are great. Lawyers, you can wait a little bit, but if you feel like it, just call them up and talk to them about it and pay them for their time. And at least you have a peace of mind that you're doing something right.
All right, third quite. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Having the right accountant, making sure they're familiar with real estate will save you a lot of money down the road. All right,
Can I
third,
ask a quick
what are
question?
some of the, sorry, go ahead.
I just have a question regarding that. Is there any sort of site where you can go find property managers that have been curated? Like, for example, with Inspectify for inspectors, it works really well throughout the US. Is there anything regarding that available?
So I have not seen anything that's actually I would like recommend. There are sites that I've seen, but here's the thing: anybody can put their name on there. And how is this company going to get paid to vet these people? They're going to get paid by the property managers. They're going to be promoting them, in my opinion, unless you literally pay this company. And I don't. Yeah, so I have not found. I've seen a couple. I think like 2 different ones that had a lot of property managers, but in the end, I was like, I know this property manager. They're not good, and they're ranked high. It's because they're paying for it. So I haven't.
Got
And
it. Thank
Raymond,
you.
one couple of things I would say is any property manager that you're working with, ask to speak with some of the investors that they're working with that own multiple properties and that they have been managing properties for at least 6 months to a year, and ask them what their experience has been like. That would go a long way in kind of vetting some of
Referrals.
them. If they're not, yeah,
Yeah.
referrals, absolutely. Yeah.
Referrals are
Go to
amazing.
like,
And what's really good is when you get a referral, you're going to get one property manager respond to me like he did. And I completely stopped talking to him. He said, I don't give out referrals. My landlords, they want me to protect protect them. I'm like, I just want to talk to like two just to see how your business is with them. He said, no, he actually flat out refused. I'm like, okay, I can't work with you because if you can't give a referral, then there's a reason why.
Yep, agreed. No, thank you. Appreciate it.
my third question, what are some of the examples of you being burned by a property manager? This needs to be
Oh,
a separate call.
yeah. But I'll quickly go over how I got to my property manager realizing that she was stealing from me. So I would get fake expenses on my property management statement. I would say, hey, where's the receipt for this one? And she would send me a fake receipt, like literally like it's on a napkin, or things also weren't adding up. Like all the numbers weren't adding up. They didn't have accurate accounting, and stories wouldn't line up. For me, communication is huge when it comes to a property manager. If a property manager doesn't communicate well, not just like being able to talk to you well, but if they don't call you back, that's like grounds for firing. Like, this is how I feed my family. If it goes like 2 days without you calling me back, something's wrong. I'm very upset. You need to be able to have good communication, but then they need to be trustworthy. So when I started seeing that there were all these misaccounting and these expenses, oh, we need this main drain. This actually happened to me. $900 for a main drain, main line going out to the sewer. We need that replaced, and we replaced it as $900. I'm like, what in the world? Like, I didn't. Number one, I didn't prove that, and number two, I want to make sure that that's actually the right expense. So, when things stop adding up and things start looking fishy, then start digging.
Yeah, and always, literally, this happened with me. The property manager that I was working with, she would give me receipts, and it turned out the contractor that she was using was her brother. So she could make up like any receipt she wanted, and especially if they have in-house crew that's doing the work, that's a red flag to me because then they can make up any invoices. Always ask for pictures and videos of what needs to be done before and after pictures and videos.
You're absolutely
Before and after pictures of, yeah. And make sure, like, for your purpose, you're documenting what was done to which property, when it was done. So if something comes up, then you can go back and, question them. And if it's something over, I don't know, Dustin, if you do this, but if it's something over $100, like I own my own property management company, but if it's something over $100, we reach out to the owner before we do anything, unless it's an emergency, because we want to make sure that we're not doing anything with their money. And that's something you want from the property manager. You want that limit to be, like 100 to no more than $200, but no less than $100, because you don't want to call them for every, like, 10, 15, $20 worth of expenses.
I would say it also, yeah, I 100% agree, but it also depends on your security level or risk tolerance with that property manager. I have one like where it's like $250. Anything below that, just take care of it. Anything above that, talk to me, because one property manager, like I've been working there for many, many years. They're terrific because I trust them. But another property manager, actually, some of my students were having problems with some property managers, and they said literally, anytime you do any charging or there's anything that needs to be fixed, clear it with me. I don't care if it's $5. Like, you need to clear it with me first, because they weren't having they were having trust issues with that property manager. So it really depends on you, but the PM should literally comply with what you're requesting.
Yeah, and one other thing that we do is if it's a large expense over, let's say, 1,500, 1,500, then if it's your property, make sure you get some independent bids also. That's what we've done. We used to do with, when I was working with a third-party property management company, I would get my own bid just to make sure if they say, hey, the HVAC needs to be replaced. If it actually needs to be replaced, can I save like a couple $100, $200 doing that? Or maybe, I can get another couple of years just by, making a small fix to it. Like that goes a long way, having your own set of independent contractors or handymans that you're working with. A balanced account, I wouldn't manage someone's property if I have to run $5 by the client. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think that's if as a property management
Well,
company if you have to
also
call.
property managers know that you're not going to have a $5 charge. There's no such thing as a
Yeah,
$5 charge
exactly.
for
Yeah,
property.
there's no
It's
such
not
thing.
going
Yeah,
to be
true,
like that.
true. Yeah, there's no such thing. I'm just thinking like, what would you do for $5? You know, you can't even like mow a lawn for $5. Yeah. So, what are the questions you guys have on the rental properties? Oh yeah. What would you say? Google reviews on property managers.
Oh, so I love this one. In fact, this is like
That's a great question.
this is absolutely something I teach my students, and I'll give it to you guys as well. So Google, Yelp, and these other people reviewing property managers. Now you got to think of who is actually giving reviews, and usually it's people who are disgruntled. Well, not all reviews are the same, especially for property managers. Now, if you're buying something on Amazon, obviously it's a different story. Think of a property manager. Who is the property manager's customer? Is the tenant the customer? No, the landlord is the property manager's customer. So when you're looking at reviews, you want to find 1-star reviews on a property manager that says, like a tenant's basically saying, hey, this property manager, I didn't pay for 2 months and they kicked me out of the house. Well, that's good. You want that. But if you find a landlord says, oh, I had 10 properties with this property manager, they started screwing up and started doing this, that, and the other, those are bad. So you want to find and curate the landlord actual reviews as opposed to the tenant reviews. Now, the tenant reviews can give you insights on how they're working 100%, but try to go through and find out which ones are the landlord reviews so that you can make sure that you are kind of comparing apples to apples, because a 1-star from a tenant is not the same as a 1-star from a landlord.
That's a really, really great point. I mean, we are pretty low from my property management company. We are pretty low Google star, but which is a good thing. It's from like tenants, just being like pissed off that we're kicking them out of the property because they couldn't pay the rent. So yeah, it's a great point. Bad reviews for property manager generally means good thing. Like you need to not look at the rating, but actually read the reviews, who's leaving the reviews. And then sometimes you would have, like for our property management company, we would have people read reviews. We haven't even rented property to saying, hey, they rejected my application because they weren't making enough money or whatnot. So yeah, you got to read the reviews. All right, Tyler has a question. When do you think it becomes worth it to have your own property management company?
Ooh, okay. So I'm going to say that if I have a lot of properties in one area, it's potentially good to have your own property management company. But for me, I didn't really want to create a property management company. So Sharad, I'm definitely going to pass this over to you because you created your own. But for me, I love paying 10% of somebody else's money. Remember, I don't pay for my property manager. I don't have to get a job for the property manager. My tenants do. Now, if I had 50 properties in one area and I wanted to create a business, then that's something I have to oversee. I definitely don't mind personally just giving out that 10% to a property manager because I don't even have to think. I literally don't work at all, like 30 minutes a month. But Sharad, you went that route. So maybe you can share with us.
Yeah, my reason was honestly, I was getting screwed by the property management company I was working. I had no intention of starting property management company, but I could not find a decent property management company. This was the property management company that was managing my properties. It was actually somebody I had hired as a receptionist. She was doing a really good job. I said, hey, you're fantastic at it. She was taking a lot of initiative. I said, I'll pay for your license. You set up your own property management company. I'll let you rent my property. And then she just started screwing me over. And I had about 50 properties that I owned. And then turnkey is my primary business where we sell properties to other investors. So we needed someone that could manage properties on the back end after we sell the properties. We started getting a lot of complaints. But if I had to put a number, think about it. Like, let's say if you're gonna hire, someone like to do admin work, you would probably pay about, let's say, depending on the area, anywhere from like 3,000 to 4,000 a month. So think about if your rent from that properties is about, once you get your rental income, about 25,000, 30,000 monthly gross rental income. At that point, I would look at hiring own property management, or not necessarily property management company, but just hiring someone in-house to manage your properties. It doesn't have to be a property management company. I would look into that. The other values you would get, and every property management company does this, is when you're doing work for other owners, there will be a markup. So if you're managing your own properties, then you don't have that markup, so your cost of repair will also go down, and then you'll have more control, more transparency. So if I had to put a number, I would say, depending on the market, about 25 to 30,000 gross income. At that point, I would start looking at hiring someone in-house to manage my properties.
Appreciate that. With that, do you think that's a full-time job for them if you're at 20 to 30,000 gross rent? Do you think that
Uh,
rent would be a full-time
I mean,
job?
it depends on how many properties you have, right? Let's say if you have about 15, 20 properties, I mean, it depends. Are they also handy? Can they also do some of the, work around the house? Like in my property management company, I would say we have about 200 units and we have 3 full-time people and 1 part-time person. And there are a bunch of like handymans, contractors that we work with, but we don't do in-house. We have, 1099 employees like the property management employees, they're W-2 employees. And I'm not very involved in the property management business, so I give the profit to the main property manager. But it can, if you're managing it properly, it can get into a full-time job because then you can start taking, being a little bit proactive with some of the things, right? If you're being reactive, it may not be a full-time gig, but if you're being proactive, it can definitely be a full-time role that somebody's filling in. Like I think what Dustin mentioned, that's a great point. Like one thing I'd say, you have to follow, hey, rent is due on first, late on third, or file a 30-day notice or 14-day notice, whatever it's in your market. You want to make sure you do that, and that's going to keep happening over and over again with some tenants, and then managing your contractors, managing, hey, the grass needs to be cut, right? Filters need to be changed. So there's a lot that can come up. If you're doing it properly, definitely will be a full-time position.
Awesome. I appreciate it. Can you say that again? The 3 steps that you just said?
Oh,
My mic
so
or my speaker cut out.
I could share. You're talking about like with the process. Let me find it. Where's it at? So is this one you're talking?
Yeah, right there. Yep.
About?
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, this is like, be very, very, very strict with this. Like, it should be very rare cases where you make an exception. I wasn't good at it in the beginning, but now we're very, very strict with this. Like tenants will come up with all different kinds of stories. Like Dustin said, I love this approach what Dustin had. Like, think of it as a business. Don't get emotional, separate yourself. And then one thing, when I used to manage my own properties, like in the very, I would not even tell these people that I was the owner. I would just say, hey, I work for the owner. So you kind of, separate yourself from that relationship. But this, if I had to really pick one thing, this, like, follow it, be very, very systems and processes. It's the least, it's not the sexiest stuff in the business, but I would say this is the most important stuff in the businesses, like having systems and processes. Like,
Well,
you condition your tenants. Yeah, Justin, I'm sure you felt like you noticed that you condition your tenants on what you will tolerate.
absolutely. I want to make sure that they know that we're serious. Like this money needs to be paid out because you made an obligation. You signed a contract to actually do this. And I will say that I also love this process because if you're ever worried about being discriminatory at all, then you can say we treat everybody the same.
Yeah.
Like there's literally nothing different about anybody. You can never say. Now, I will say one little caveat. I have been lenient on this if a tenant's been there for over a year and they've been a fantastic tenant. Maybe 2 years, then definitely. If they've been a property for a very long time, been great tenants, then things, hey, I completely get it. Things happen. But that's on me as a landlord. I make sure my property manager follows this to a T. But then if they say, hey, this is what's happening, then it's on me to make the decision rather than the property manager, putting it off. So yes, 100% stay to this. And when you realize, like, my bosses is my wife and now my 4 and hopefully they're willing a 5th kid, like those are my bosses. I need to make sure that they're fed, and so I look at it as like that. I don't deviate from it.
Awesome. I appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, I was very poor with this, Dustin. That's why I love your approach, like thinking of it as a business. It's so easy to get sucked into the emotional stories the tenants have, and you really need to separate yourself from this and say, hey, this is what I have. I'm sorry, we need to follow it. And then you're conditioning them. You're setting the rules, say this is what needs to be followed day in, day out. There's no exception to this. And then you hold your end of the bargain also, right? If they call about some repairs or maintenance, then you take care of it, in a timely manner. And then document everything. That's another thing we've noticed, document everything. You will get sued in this business, but if you have everything documented, it's pretty like easy to just prove, hey, we're doing everything how we're supposed to. This is the process we follow. This is all the documentation. And then there's, and then it gets dismissed.
Can I add one quick question in there? You just said about getting sued. Do you guys split your properties up into an LLC for each property to prevent if you do get sued by one tenant that it doesn't roll over to your other assets?
Yeah, so that's a
Go
good question.
ahead.
I'll give you the answer as an investor. So as an investor, we're concerned about our assets, not just the property. The property is, we're obviously ultimately concerned about that, but we're concerned about our own personal assets. The biggest thing that you need to do is make sure you have great insurance, great landlord insurance. Like that's like, if you're going to do anything, don't even worry about LLC, get really good insurance. That's going to save you so much. Now, from there, like, because you can literally buy a house, put in your own private name, have great insurance, and be totally fine. But now, as you get bigger in scale, then yes, you definitely want to branch them out. Now, as an investor, we don't think per property, okay, should we put one property or multiple properties? What we think instead is, how much am I willing to risk in equity if I were to get sued? So, give you an example. If you don't want to just put one house that's worth $100,000 in one LLC, that's a lot of paperwork for one LLC, especially have a mortgage on it, because they can't sue and take the entire property. They can only take the equity of the property. They're suing and getting the equity. Now, again, I'm not a lawyer, so definitely talk to your lawyer. But what I like to do is look at the total value that I'm willing to risk. So personally, for me, I look for a total of maybe like $500,000 in equity in all my properties, and then I'll start a new LLC. So it's equity or total value that I'm willing to risk if I were to get sued. So not per property, but that's how I do it as an investor. And we want to make sure we cut expenses. We don't want to have a lot of LLCs, but at the same time, we want to make sure we are protected. But by far, get really good homeowners insurance.
Awesome. I appreciate that.
What, depending on the market, what I invest in Indiana and Indiana only. So like, again, check with your accountant and attorney. What I do with every single my property that I have, it's owned in a separate trust of its own, because all my properties, or 95% of them, are paid for free and clear. So every single property is its own trust. And then all the trusts are owned by one LLC. So I have one operating LLC with 40, 50 different trusts. All the flips that I buy, every single flip we buy in a separate trust of its own, but we're not setting up different LLC. Like, imagine I have like 6 flips going on there in 6 different trusts, but all the money going in and out are going in and out of that one LLC. So I'm the trustee of the trust. My LLC is the beneficiary. So again, this is in Indiana. Super simple to set up a trust. I don't need to file any paperwork with the attorney or any county, state, or anything. So just check with this. That's what I found is the best, way to keep your privacy with the properties that you have, and then minimize the risk of like an attorney going after a bunch of. So if you go to tax assessor, search one property that I have, and buy that owner. So it's 123 Main Street. Let's say land trust. That trust will not own anything else. It will not pop up anywhere else. So, and then the LLC name doesn't show up anywhere. So it makes it very, very simple.
I think it's a great idea, Shrad, especially trusts are so easy to create, and you don't have to file anything. Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
At
So
first,
I think
I'm
it's
like,
a great way to
this
go.
is all I need to do. I'm literally selling a property today. And I have my property manager in Indiana. She goes and signs on my behalf. We have a trust. I just say, hey, she's the trustee for this property on my behalf. She goes and signs. I get the money. Very, very clean. I'll put a land trust agreement that I use for my property. I thought I shared it on a call before. Just have it check with your attorney, but it's super, super simple to get it set up.
Does that have the same protections as an LLC or different?
Even better protection, because you have multiple layers. Now you have LLC, and then you have a trust. So you own the LLC. LLC owns the trust. So an attorney, let's say if you're getting sued, the attorney goes to the county website, and they see, all right, my tenant lives at 123 Main Street, and the tenant tripped and fell, whatever. The attorney is going to go and see, all right, let me see everything 123 Main Street Trust owns. It's not going to pop up anything. And then they'll be like, oh, there's no point going after this person because there's no asset that's showing up. So, I mean, we've gotten sued by the tenant because of the security deposit, but we've not gotten sued by any attorney. So knock on wood. And I think one of the reasons is because how we have our property set up.
And the question is it a land trust? No, it's not a land trust. At least I wouldn't do it. Just regular personal trust that you would have, a trustee. Is that correct, Sherrod?
No, for us in Indiana, we have a revocable land trust. That's what I've used. I initially, when I set it up, I checked with my attorney. That's what they recommended. So I'm like, all right, I'll just go with
You
this.
said
I'm
irrevocable?
not in- Revocable,
Oh, revocable. Got it.
right? So I'll put here. I'm gonna put a copy of this in the chat. Feel free to use it, guys, as you feel, but just of course have your attorney review it and make sure it's all good. I had my
Well,
attorney
that's a
review it.
big
I had
thing.
tried. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big thing is
So
definitely
this,
with all this, definitely talk to your attorneys, talk to your accountants. I do. And I just share what they told me, but I also verify
right.
or let you know, you need to make sure that you're talking to the right people so that you are doing it right.
Yeah. So, and it also, a lot of this depends on the market that you're investing in, the state that you're investing in. So it's just not like in California, like when I go and talk to an attorney about land trust, they're like, what is that? They don't even know what that is. So it really depends on the market that you're investing in. All right, let me see if, all right, I'm going to put this link in. Yep. So anybody wants to grab this, this is the trust agreement that we use in our business to buy properties, to sell properties, and have not had any issues. It's accepted by lenders. It's accepted by title companies. Sometimes when we sell a property, and there's the person buying is taking a mortgage, so the lender would ask us for a copy of the trust. This is what we provide, and have not run into any issues. But of course, please have your attorney review it, make sure it works for your state and whatnot. Cool. All right. With that, Dustin, thank you so much. There's one last question if you want to take that. I know that's for me. Yeah, Adam, if you send me an email I'm going to put my email that reads simply, and I can let you know kind of what's going on with that.
Yeah, I tried to do a live chat, but yeah, I'll definitely do that. I'll send you over a direct email right now.
Yep. If you send an email, I'll get an answer to you. All right. Awesome. With that, thank you so much, guys. Dustin, thank you so much for sharing that. It's not many people think of their business as setting up a business, systems and processes. And in the long term, I tell investors, if you're looking to do this long term, if it's a deal here or there you want to get, then you can get lucky. But if it's a business that you want to run, then think of it as a business. I think the example that you gave of a convenience store just puts in a different context, and it's just such a right way to think of your business. Just think of it as a business that has systems and processes, and then scale it from there.
Sure. Can you drop your email in the chat, please?
Sure. It's my first name at simply.com.
Yeah. Thanks, Dustin. This was great.
Absolutely, guys.
Thank you, guys. Thanks. Have a great rest of the week. Thanks.